And it could have been more as well for Verstappen. Mercedes, right at the end, made a slight mistake. The battle for fastest lap was still up for grabs. Hamilton had the win in the bag, Verstappen was second, Bottas third, Perez fourth. Now, Perez was on a soft tyre and had the initial fastest lap, but it wasn't all that quick. And Perez was actually quite slow on the soft tyre at the end, which meant he dropped out of the pit stop window of Bottas, meaning Bottas could have a free pit stop and go for fastest lap. Nice, easy 1 point for him and Mercedes. But they pitted him a lap early. Normally you'd pit, meaning that you're doing an out lap on the penultimate lap and a flying lap right at the end. And the reason you do this is because it means that the car ahead of you can't then just pit and do a fast lap as well. It means you basically snooker the car ahead, meaning you're basically the one driver that has a quali shot for the fastest lap and it's nice and easy. Mercedes pitted Bottas a lap early, which meant Verstappen had a one shot for it as well on the final lap. And he so nearly got it, but for this. Out of turn 13, quali mode for Verstappen, soft tyres on, but his old enemy, track limits. At it again, Verstappen got done for track limits in qualifying, cost him pole position. Who knows, maybe he could have won the race if he started there, particularly ahead of Bottas, who wasn't particularly strong at the start. But this one, it cost him 1 point, absolutely clearly. He's over track limits, therefore he gained a lasting advantage, a 1 point's worth of advantage, and the FIA then deleted the lap time and it went back to Bottas. So despite Mercedes maybe giving Red Bull and Verstappen a chance they shouldn't really have had, they managed to cling on to that 1 point, and Hamilton's championship lead now remains at 8 points instead of what would have been 7. But speaking of track limits, Red Bull particularly unimpressed with track limits at the end of the weekend. It's cost Verstappen pole, it's cost him a fastest lap, and you can't really argue with it. He's been over the track limits, the rules are clear, the lap time goes, and they were mistakes from Max. But there was an interesting case at the safety car restart, Lando Norris going over track limits, trying to pass the other Red Bull of Sergio Perez out of turn 4. Norris goes wide out of turn 4, and then on the run up to turn 5, has the run, the momentum, and passes Perez on the inside. Perez said after the race that he saw Norris going over track limits on the exit of 4 and didn't bother defending because he thought he wouldn't pass him. That's a bold one from Perez. I still would have thought you'd just cover it off just in case, especially in a Red Bull needing to keep that position to stay in touch with the top 3. But the FIA had a look at it and decided that in this case, because the overtake was made at turn 5 and not at turn 4 where Norris was over track limits, they decided no penalty was needed. We don't want to see penalties given for these sort of incidents, but this whole track limits palaver is starting to get really tricky, because now we're into a case where a driver can go wide at one corner, gain momentum to get an advantage to pass at the next. According to what we saw in Portimao, that's now acceptable. And it just feels like that might come back to bite at some point. And what the drivers and teams want is just consistency from the stewards. We saw it really with the Verstappen track limits cases of this weekend. He went over, had his laps deleted. But I think there really needs to be a clear directive, and ideally just some gravel traps in or something.